On behalf of STMA, welcome to the 4th virtual town hall meeting. We would like for this to be an interactive experience, so if you have a question or something to share, please use the chat feature to type a question. Chat is located along the bottom of the screen and will pop up in the participant panel. You can also raise your hand, and when you are called upon, you can speak to our panelists live. The raised hand is located at the bottom right of the participant panel as well. Your moderator today is Zachary Willard from Auburn University. So go ahead and take it away.
Hey everyone, welcome to this afternoon's town hall meeting, and thank you for your participation. Today's meeting is focused on the collegiate side of our industry, and with that said, we do feel that all members in all areas of our industry can learn from one another, especially during this current state of affairs. The goal is to share information and learn in real time how everyone is adapting to this ever-changing environment. We're also looking to learn how other sports field managers are planning for what may lie ahead for their staff, facilities, and organizations. We all come away with good feedback from our peers and offer thoughts or topics for future discussions, and we hope this stems more of that. We can all learn from the challenges we currently face and the difficulty or successes we are having while navigating through these times. So I'd like to take this time now to introduce our panelists. First, we have Jason Smith, Director of Sports Turf from the University of Florida. Chris May, Director of Athletic Grounds from Georgia Tech. Thomas Goyne, Assistant Supervisor of Grounds from Penn State Athletics. And Chris Webb, Assistant Director of Grounds from Christopher Newport University. We'll go over a quick set of ground rules and then we'll get rolling with our questions here. We're going to do our best to stay apolitical. We absolutely do not try to predict the future, but we will discuss various scenarios to be prepared for what may lie ahead. We recognize it is all right to not have the answers and to share our questions as much as our thoughts. As Kristen mentioned, follow-up questions are permitted, and if we want to dig deeper in any questions, please feel free to fire away with anything that may come to mind. And I think that's about it. So we'll get going with question number one. Our panelists will answer in the order in which they're introduced. So we'll fire this off with Jason to start. Can you guys give us a quick snapshot of your current labor and schedule of work? And how does that from your typical operations during this time of year?
Yeah. First, I'd just like to say thanks for inviting to be a part of this. I really appreciate that. Currently, right now, we are when we went into this, it was a lot of unknown, and so the question was brought to me of what is bare the bare minimum that we can do. Off the top of my head, I was like, we've got to be able to mow Monday, at least 3 times a week. So that's going into it. That's how we went into it, with that mindset of what was the bare minimum. We kind of just stuck with that. So right now I'm basically rotating 2 guys. I have 2 guys on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. As we kind of got into it, it was, when that was set out, or the question was asked about what was the bare minimum, that was an athletic department-wise question. And so, the reality of us being outside, distance anyway, it wasn't that big of a deal then, of us staying away. So, we stuck with that because it worked, just because of the things that we're not doing right now, with not having prepared fields daily for practices or postseason stuff like that. So, yeah, right now we're just in a kind of a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, not really mowing every day, so we're able to sneak in some of the cultural practices as well. So I feel like we're kind of ahead of the game right now.
Awesome. Chris May, how about you?
Yeah, when all this started, we were in the middle of baseball season, and for us, it had been one of the wettest, starts to a season we had in a while. So we were used to working pretty much round the clock. So our biggest thing from the beginning with our HR department and with athletics was not necessarily what's the bare minimum, how do we social distance? So once I kind of explained more detail that, hey, my whole crew can be on one field and be, 50 to 100 feet apart from each other, we kind of were able to come to a common ground. So what we ended up doing is we're working 3 days on, 3 days off. So, I got 2 guys that come in Monday, Tuesday, and then 3 guys that come in Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And then the 2 guys that came in Monday, Tuesday, they come back in on Saturday to mow. So that's kind of how we're running right now. We have a 14-acre golf facility as well. And those 2 guys out there were just working their normal schedule. It's off campus. Like I said, it's 14 acres. It's not like they're really running into each other besides the shop. So that's been our biggest thing from day one is the social distancing, minimizing germ spread, everything else. Being in a major metropolitan area like downtown Atlanta, we had some concerns, and it was never about the bare minimum for Georgia Tech. It was about how do we keep our employees safe. So, I'm lucky to have an administration that thinks that way. And not the latter. So that's kind of what we've been doing up until this point. As of right now, my plan is to move back into normal operations sometime in the beginning of June.
Very good. Thomas, can you share with us about what's going on at Penn State?
Yeah, so right now, our 9 full-time employees, 7 groundskeepers, 1 group leader groundskeeper, and 1 mechanic. We're back to 40 hours a week, 5 days a week, Monday to Friday, 6 a.m. to 2:30. And then the 2 supervisors, myself and George Peters, the supervisor of grounds, we're here every day with them. Initially, as we sort of ramped down, the university closed down based on the state's orders. And they kind of went down to their essential employees only, which is more geared towards snow removal or snow cancellation days of school. So we're not essential, but because we were sort of growing at that point, we were able to justify bringing 2 to 3 guys in a day for about 2 days a week. And we pretty much covered all of our mowing. And now we're kind of moved into renovations and aerifying, but we're without our 10 to 12 student wage payroll workers right now, and we're really limiting our overtime. So it's just our 9 full-time union employee groundskeepers, 40 hours a week right now.
Awesome, thank you. Chris Webb, if you could follow up, could you also share, for those who may not know, where Christopher Newport University is and just a little bit about your institution before we get started?
All right, so Christopher Newport University is we're a D3 athletics program. We are in Newport News, Virginia, which if you think back to the colonial days when the settlers first came to America and they settled in Jamestown, Jamestown is about 20 minutes west of our campus. Our Christopher Newport was actually one of the captains on one of the 3 ships that went on to settle Jamestown. So as far as our staffing has been, we take care of the campus grounds and landscape in addition to our athletic field. So in the initial planning process of what's our schedule going to look like, much like Chris May said, our administration came at it not from a what's the minimum you can do, but how can we social distance and make sure we stay within all of the guidelines. So we're a department of 20 people, so we had to divide into 2 groups of 10. Group 1 works Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Group 2 works Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and then we flip-flop that every week, so everybody's not having to always work Saturday or always work the Monday, Wednesday, Friday shift. Normally this time of year, we'd be working upwards of 50 or more hours a week just with commencement preparation going on at the same time as postseason play going on for softball and baseball. So it has really been a big hit for us, but at the same time, we were able to spray our fields out. Do a lot of our cultural practices we normally do in June. We did those in April. So we've been sitting pretty well maintenance-wise, given that we were able to do that.
Awesome. So you sort of segued into our next question here. Jason, you touched on it as well. Do you guys have any pending projects or cultural practices on the horizon, big or small, that have been impacted by the COVID crisis? Has anything been moved up due to lack of play on the field, or postponed due to uncertainty in budgets, or anything in between?
You know, it's if anything, it's been moved up. You know, when all this started, late March. You know, one, it was unseasonably warm. So like I said, with giving them the bare minimum that I needed was at least 3 days. Spraying out the rye was really important. One, just so we weren't chasing ryegrass 3 days a week, or, you know, that's all we were doing. So once we got that sprayed out and slowed up, then all of a sudden the nighttime started dropping. And so having outgoing ryegrass on top of cool nights for Bermuda grass, our mowing was really reduced a lot. So like I said, we've gotten ahead on our aerification and verticutting. Right now we're just kind of in limbo right now with our top dressing. We also have a project going on with our baseball stadium. We just completed our brand new baseball stadium, so our old stadium's about to be torn down. Along with our shop was right next door to the baseball stadium, so we're being relocated. That got finished up a couple weeks ago, so trying to keep the minimum hours and getting the shop moved, and now basically a baseball stadium where all of our conditioners, stuff like that. That's really what's kind of tying up all of our time right now. You know, you kind of start having sleepless nights thinking you're getting behind, but then you look at the calendar and it's like Chris hit on, you know, we should be in regional play right now. So, you know, right now life would be nothing but postseason. You know, we really wouldn't even be starting any of this stuff for another roughly 20 days once baseball supers are over. So, you know, when you look at it, that aspect, you know, those sleepless nights kind of go away, because you know that everything that I've gotten done, or we've gotten done so far, we're ahead of the game. Not only with the cultural stuff, you know, it takes time going through fields, doing the aerification, verticutting, top dressing, but just being able to get that jump on the fields of getting the ryegrass sprayed out is huge. You know, our growing season was extended. And then, you know, just the amount of less wear and tear that the field saw from not having, you know, all the spring action on it. You know, all around, you know, we're in a lot better shape. So like I said, the sleepless nights try to creep in on you, not being up there, but when you stop and look at it, you know, we feel like we're in a pretty good spot.
How about you, Chris, May?
Well, I think Jason just kind of hit on that. You know, the timing of the year, it's kind of weird. It's funny, I was walking the practice field the other day and I'm like, man, we're behind. No, we're not. It's not even June. So it's been really weird. And I think that the spring has been extremely long. We've stayed cool, which has been really good for us. Having a bluegrass baseball field, we have just been pounding it every day. So that's been kind of nice, you know, compared to usually the only time of the year we have to work on that thing and really get it going is in the fall after practice ends. So this was like having a whole nother, you know, fall segment for us to really work on that field. We do have some projects going on. This will be the first time I announce this, but we are putting in artificial turf in the football stadium. So that project got moved up. We were supposed to be hosting 3 concerts this summer, but due to COVID, you know, that's not happening. So that timeline got moved up. We'll begin that June 1. And, you know, besides that, our baseball stadium is getting ready to go through a renovation. That one's supposed to start till July. That's also going to start June 1 now. So that'll kind of impact us, you know, around our shop, which is behind the baseball stadium. So we're getting ready to start moving into our basketball arena parking lot for the summer. So we have that going on. But, like everybody's saying, just cultural practice, just getting ahead of the game. I figured if we could get 5 aerifications in before June 1, I mean, that's 5 more than we'd ever get in any other year. So that's kind of where we've been. It's kind of been weird at times because, the grass is not responding the way you would think it would, just because you have this sense of no one's on campus, it's summertime almost, so, but like I said, you freak out a little bit, but then you realize it's not even June and feel pretty comfortable about things after that. So I think the biggest thing for us is just the uncertainty of student athletes returning and, how much time do we have still to start a project, complete a project, that may not be on the calendar. But for right now, we're just pushing like we normally would. And like I said, we're really not trying to do the minimum. And, that's really helped out a lot.
Yeah, awesome. How about you guys, Thomas?
So for us, when this first hit, we kind of made the game plan as far as cultural practices. We were going to do things a little bit differently. Since we do all campus recreation stuff, in addition to intercollegiate athletics, we have 30 acres of intramural fields that we take care of. And we immediately went and got growth regulator and started covering those things every 2 weeks with Primo and 7 acres with Musketeer. And that was pretty much so we could get those areas down to once a week mowing, since it's typically 2 mowings with 3 4500s on those areas, Toro 4500. So one of the things we did was we switched our parking, our football parking mower, Toro 5910, which is about the size of 2 4500s. We changed heights on that, went up from 2 1/4 to 3 inches on the intramural fields and started covering that. So we can get about 30 acres, probably 40 acres in 8 hours with that mower. And then slowing all of our other fields down, we've got a real mower for each field, so we could kind of just split up the crew and attack that. And then as far as our aerification, we're still going on our 16 acres of varsity fields with their normal verticutting, aerating, top dressing, and we've got about 10 acres done right now. But the 30 acres of intramural fields that we usually do a fairway, Toro fairway aerifier on, that's not going to get that this year. And we've actually transitioned to going out there and using our aeravators on them to sort of, decompact the ground but not pull cores, since we're probably not going to be seeding either this year. As far as Penn State goes, being in a colder weather climate, all of our construction across the whole campus is jammed into the summertime, whether it's parking lot repairs, intercollegiate athletics or not. And all that construction got paused, and all of its funding came into question when the university went and laid off employees in other areas. So we had a football project at the football building that was going to be a utilities package upgrade, a new sewer line, and some scoreboards and cameras. That just got paused right now just because of that whole construction pause. It kind of threw everything off across campus. So all that sort of getting back in order and sort of ramping up. But a lot of our time right now is spent on how are we going to navigate the future. But big thing for us is sort of that cliffhanger that everybody's waiting on, and it's when our athletes going to come back, because that's going to impact what we do with stuff and how we change our program.
Yeah, absolutely. Round it out there, Chris Webb.
All right. So kind of mirroring what Jason and Chris said, it's tough when you go out and walk the fields and you look at everything. When you only get to work 3 days a week and it rains 1 or 2 of those 3 days that you work, you really start to feel like you're falling behind and, you're itching to get going, but then you kind of have to stop and reflect and think, it's May 19th. We've already cored our fields. We've already verticut. We've already put down the heavy top dressing. We've gone through all of our resodding that we need to do that normally we would just be thinking about spraying out the fields right now. So when you look at it that way, we're already ahead. it is a challenge that, normally when we go through our aerification and top dressing process, you knock it out in a week, and now that's taking 2 or 3 weeks. So it's a little tougher on us mentally in that you don't feel like you get as much accomplished. But we're very lucky in that we have a good administration that gives us a lot of support. So they're letting us push forward, and normal practices like having a vendor come in and deep tine or do some root zone recycling. They've told us we can go ahead and continue with that. Some of the smaller projects like laser grading and engineered infield amendments, we're kind of pumping the brakes on right now. It's not that we're not going to do it. It's just we want to see, where's the school sitting financially before we pull the trigger on that. But we're very lucky that our administration is still supporting us and hasn't told us no on any of the things that we need to do to the fields culturally.
Yeah, we can echo what you guys are saying here at Auburn too. We just, with so much downtime, we feel like we're behind schedule and we have to pump the brakes, look at the calendar. I think that's something very common across the board everywhere right now. So the next question we have is, we're generally known as the go-to people within our organizations and our departments. We're guys who get the job done well, done right, on time, without that usual sense of urgency. How have you guys had to adapt your own mental approach to this season?
Well, for me, like I said, kind of like what Webb hit on with, only getting to or going up there 3 days a week, you feel behind. And so, what I've been doing is I've been getting up there extremely early, like around 4 o'clock or so. Like I said, I've been bringing those guys in 2 at a time. And so I kind of jump up there and get on a piece of equipment and, airify or verticut, tear things up and then leave it for, so it's, all completed and can have time to dry whenever those guys are in and get it cleaned up. We're trying to get out of there, before noon or so. My whole thing is, trying to do lunch, I'd rather just get up there early, work straight through, and then just, and not, be together eating or stopping to go try to eat and find things to eat and stuff. That just seems a difficult time for me. So, to kind of answer that question, like I said, I've just been grinding it, getting up early. And then it's just, it's weird, it's still grinding. It's not all at work. I mean, it's balancing life, family life and work as well. My wife, she's basically 100% working from home. So, I try to get us home as early as I can to, relieve her, because my 5-year-old son, you know how 5-year-olds are, they just wear you out, mommy. And, so she's trying to have meetings and do work and stuff herself. So, it's my way of, just getting up, grinding, getting my stuff done earlier while everybody's sleeping, and then coming home and, tending to the family life and, not only taking care of him, but then, the wife also helps not lose that grinder mentality of all the home projects that they're, asking me to do and stuff, so she's definitely, keeping me busy and not letting me slack up. So I honestly would be glad when all this, goes back to normal. I might be able to rest a little bit, because she, it's work doesn't seem nearly as much as this home and work deal going. So.
Yeah, I resonate with that pretty well too. Chris, what about you? I know we've talked on the phone about stress level being down with the event load being down.
I mean, I'm going to be straight up and honest. This is the most relaxed I've ever been as a sports turf manager in my career. This has been a welcome break. With our location, we host a just ungodly amount of external events. And with everything being canceled, it's just pick your feet up, relax. If we get it done, we get it done. Like Jason said, with the home life, my wife works from home, and that's been interesting. But, I've redone our entire yard. We've cleaned out closets. We've done everything you can imagine to stay busy. But, I don't necessarily follow our work schedule that my crew is following of the 3 on 3 off. I just kind of come and go as I please right now. So like I said, just no stress. It's pretty incredible from that aspect. But, I think that the biggest mental challenge, the mindset that I'm having issues with in the mental, part of it is taking care of my crew. And, we have guys that are missing out on massive amounts of overtime right now without having a baseball, softball season. And that has been extremely tough. So, trying to keep that in mind and the same time as, managing the expectations and how far you want to push somebody has been extremely tough. I think in the beginning, we didn't really have any guidelines as far as OT and everything else. But, the state stepped in and, they're granting people that cannot telework, campus emergency non-closure pay or whatever it's called. So my guys are getting 2 days a week of that. And, so I think though they still didn't in the beginning, I don't think the guys necessarily understood that all the overtime was going to be taken away. So I think that's just been really heavy on my mind. So that's probably been the most stressful thing going on. As far as the fields, no stress at all. You mentioned before the meeting, having some hot spots and stuff like that. The great thing about that right now is if we do get hot, we do burn up a little bit, there's no one there to see it. So, like I said, pretty relaxed move over here in Atlanta. Our governor is pretty dead set on opening things up pretty quickly. So I've heard rumors, we're talking about in-person work even at the state capitol pretty soon. Georgia Tech, we're going to keep teleworking for now. But yeah, it's been like a vacation.
Yeah. We're hearing lots of rumors about opening up as well. Thomas, what's new on your mental approach?
For us, I think for George and I particularly, it's important to make sure that our guys know and have a sense of stability and safety. When this first started, there was just a lot of mixed messages and sort of blackouts from the administration, the old main of the university, the highest levels. The information was coming down really slow, and a lot of people didn't have answers and started assuming things. So for our guys, it's just maintaining, that everybody's safe, their jobs are safe, most importantly, that we've taken every precaution here that we can, that the university's enforced and gone above and beyond ourselves, because for them it's tough because all of our guys start at Penn State from the very beginning and they work their way up through the union. So a lot of guys have been here for 30 years and things like that, and they've seen a lot of their friends across the university get laid off and in other departments and things like that. And our athletic equipment managers are actually now working at our golf course in place of the wage payroll over there to protect their jobs. So, with all that shifting going on, I think it's important for our guys to have a sense of stability, which I think we've done a good job with. The go-to aspect, I don't think has changed because we don't have an athletics facilities operations here. People that do other things besides grass. We're the only guys in the department that do that. All of our, technicians, as far as electricians or things like that, they're all in the office of the physical plant. So as far as maintaining the facilities and things like that, that's mostly been up to us. And we've been a base for all the cleaning supplies to be delivered, all the mail for a lot of the athletic department to be delivered. We're sort of that home base. And, now since George and I as supervisors, we're non-working supervisors because our guys are union. So a lot of our days now are filled with purchasing and navigating other aspects of the university while people are at home, in preparation to welcome them back. So to make sure that we have enough, rags for the whole department, cleaning rags, 4,000 cleaning rags, 500 spray bottles. N95 masks for the athletic trainers. A lot of our time has been spent on trying to source that and make sure that all the equipment is there when people get back. So the go-to mentality aspect hasn't changed, but just making sure that our guys know that everything is stable and that we care about their safety is our number one priority.
Yeah, very good. What about you guys, Chris? Webb?
So I would say the grind and urgency is still here. It's just it's a different kind of grind now. I find it tough to kind of stay focused through the week because you work 3 days a week. Well, my wife's a healthcare worker, so I'm a stay-at-home dad to a toddler those other 4 days, and I think I speak for a lot of people. Being home with my kid 4 days a week broke me pretty well in the first couple of weeks of this. I was not prepared for that, nor was he. But we seem to have worked it out at this point and have a mutual agreement. But it is tough to stay focused. I think I have more sticky notes laying around now than I ever have because you have to break up a phone conversation in the middle of the day when you watch the kid because the kid's screaming because he wants to watch Daniel Tiger on your phone, and you're trying to sit there and order sod or order parts or something, and you just can't get through the conversation. So it's been hard and trying to stay focused on everything. Luckily, kind of as other guys have hit on though, our administration has canceled all campus events, including athletic events, through August. So the pressure for us is gone. We pretty much have a clean slate until August. We just know come August we have to deliver a heck of a field. But if the fields don't look their best, that's okay, and it's kind of expected right now. I think the hard part of the grind for our guys is with that 3 days a week and having to come in here and think about the whole campus as a whole in our plan for the day. It's tough to sit there and tell your athletic field guys that, well, I know we got weeds in the warning track and we haven't edged in 3 weeks, but you're going to have to go plant flowers today on campus because that's where the campus needs you to be today. So it's a little tough for that when I think we all take pride in our facilities looking great and looking perfect all the time, and having to kind of readjust our expectations that it's okay if we don't look perfect all the time right now. We'll have it there when it needs to be to that point, but we have to think about the bigger picture when we plan out our day and plan out our weeks now. So that's been the hard part for myself, and staying focused and making sure my guys stay focused and understand, that this is why we're having to do what we're doing today. I know we need to do those things, but these are unprecedented times.
Right, yeah. And you segue into the next question well, 2 for 2 there. Are you guys having to do, what are you doing now to reset and reframe expectations for your facilities and your staff and the people you answer to? Is there a different message, or is there a new message that you're trying to send to our department heads? Or, Chris May, I know you mentioned that, you guys aren't buckling on expectations and trying to do things like that, trying to stay the course. So are you guys, as Chris Webb said, not necessarily changing anything, but shifting dates on expectations, things like that? What are you doing different there?
It's kind of like what, Chris May has said, it's relaxing right now. Nobody's around. And that's, as far as expectations, I mean, right now, everything is, one, like Chris said, no one's even around. So, those phone calls or concerns are not there. But two, like I stated earlier, how, not having to wear in the terror of the spring season, everything's so far ahead of where we're normally at right now, things are looking better. So I think we're on that front, it's no problem. Nothing has changed. If anything, we're presenting, better fields at this time of the year than we normally do. And that might hurt us in the future. But and and this might be back to one of the previous questions falling in, but one thing that's been laying on my mind too is that we don't need to get too relaxed and too comfortable in this. With the oh well, it's just May 18th or May 19th, I guess. But one thing that in my mind that keeps rolling is we lost spring football, and we're accustomed now to what is the last week of July, fall camp starting. Well, if they clear these guys July 1, I feel like we got to be ready to go even weeks earlier because, with losing spring sports and spring football, they're going to be chomping at the bit. And, I can easily see NCAA, granting some extra time for the time that was lost in the field in the spring. So I do want to stress that. I don't know if that quite falls under this question, but I feel like one of the other three, it definitely does. So that's one thing, that, when we do our fall camp, for football, we do it on one of our Rex fields. We've taken it over right now and I've started getting it to our height. And even though I'm feeling pretty good about it, I am starting to worry a little, that, come July 1, early July, we might have to have that thing ready, 2 to 3 weeks earlier than normal. So just want to stress that, that's something that's been laying on my mind is just because it's laid back and, it could very easily ramp up and go, get going really quick, so.
Yeah, no doubt that switch is going to flip and it's going to be a barrage. I'm scared, unlike anything we've ever seen before for fall.
Well, it's just like, the mentality, even like around here, Christmas time, that's like our biggest break. I feel like as an industry whole, that's especially for the college level, that's our biggest break. And then always that first week back in January is like one of the worst just because everybody's sat at home for a couple of weeks and they're just ready, chomping at the bit, ready to get on their fields. And I just feel like this is, having this pause for 2 months, it's gonna be everywhere, and so just definitely need to be ready for that.
Yeah, absolutely. How about you, Chris?
So we've been told at this point we will have student athletes back on campus in June. They'll be doing conditioning, weightlifting, all that kind of stuff. And then to expect football practice start July 1. I'm not speaking for the NCAA. I'm not speaking for the ACC. I'm just going off of what I've been told from our deputy AD. So, our mentality year round, it doesn't matter pandemic or not, is to always be a few days away from being game ready on any field. Obviously when you're growing in, recovering from overseeding, what would it be? That's not possible. But, we're moving up some side dates, that we normally would wait a little bit longer in the summer to do, see how much more we can grow in. But, right now for us, it's just keeping that, ability to be game ready within 3 days on any field. And when I say game ready, I mean the normal expectations of what it would be during a season for that sport. So, that's kind of where we're at with that. My thing is all of our fields can be seen from a lot of places in downtown Atlanta. So we don't want to look bad when somebody drives down the street. The other thing that we have that's very unique going on is we were the first drive-through COVID testing site in the country that I know of, when they opened it up, and it's on campus in a parking garage, 200 yards from the baseball field. So that's been kind of nerve-wracking at times, and there's been some days where you've had 3,000 people in cars backed up. Every one of them can see every one of your athletic fields. So, for me, it's like, okay, well, we can show off to somebody, I guess. But, that's kind of been just where we've been, is just make sure we're not more than 3 or 4 days away from being game ready. And, so I don't necessarily know if we're going to have to reframe things or whatnot. We're just trying to keep things as steady as possible and, be ready to press the gas pedal when it's time.
Yeah, absolutely. Thomas?
Yeah, so that's a big question for us too, is when do we ramp up? And we've put together a ramp up plan to get some of our wage payroll, our student workers back, maybe 4 at a time leading up to, a proposed starting date for football or something like that, so that we can make sure that we have everything covered. But, the nice part for us is our message has been strong to our administration because our boss, Herb Combs, he used to be a supervisor of grounds, and he moved up within Penn State Athletics. So we've got a groundskeeper at the highest levels, with a seat at that table lobbying for us and lobbying for our operation and what we need. So, having him as our budget administrator and things like that, we can really sit down with him and work through the different things that we need and maybe don't need or could be creative with, rather than someone just, slashing a red pen across it. So that's been great, honestly. But, just sort of when that ramp up comes, we all want to know that and be ready for it. And as long as we get our cultural practices done here by the end of May, which we're on pace to do, that pretty much sets us up to be ready to go whenever.
Awesome. Chris, Webb?
So kind of like everyone else has mentioned, we were preparing for the floodgates to open probably sometime in June, until our administration made the call that all events on campus, including athletics, would be canceled through August. So we kind of look at it as we have a golden opportunity to really get aggressive on some cultural practices for this summer. But at the same time, we're kind of keeping in the back of our mind, we got to be ready to go all the time, though, because just because they said everything's canceled through August doesn't mean they're not going to walk that back at some point. Because if other schools are bringing their athletes in and doing voluntary workouts or something else, our coaches are going to want that opportunity as well, and our administration is going to want that opportunity for our athletes. So the only other thing, I've tried to stay in constant communication with a lot of our coaches and let them know kind of where the fields are at, what we're doing, that, I recognize they're at home. They're taking care of children. So they can't be here. So I try to be their eyes while they're here and talk to them and let them know that just because they're not here, we are here and we are working on the fields and we're taking care of the fields, and the fields are in good shape. And I think that goes a long way with them having realistic expectations of what we're doing, and reassuring them that we're not just sitting around doing nothing, that it's business as usual. It may be different, but we're still working on the fields and getting them ready for when they're ready to go.
Awesome. Question number 5. Each of you guys has had the opportunity to mentor many people in this industry. What would your message be to young people, interns, recent graduates who have been impacted during this time through no fault of their own? What do you think our industry and our members of our organization can do to help these people right now?
Well, first of all, I feel like they need to take advantage of, things like this. SMA has other resources they take advantage of and stuff, and just, number one, be active. Even, say someone graduated and, there's hiring freezes and they can't get out there and work, find somewhere to volunteer. It's like we mentioned before, our industry, we're out in the open. So, it's been pretty relaxed on, letting people work and stuff like that. So I doubt your local, golf course or, minor league, anywhere around that you might be able to go and do some work, and, you might not get the, the money and that, but the amount that pays off in the future, it shows your character and your work ethic and just things that you can learn. You can learn, at any level you can learn in this industry. And so I just think, taking advantage of stuff like that. Social media, just keep, I have a Twitter account, but that's the only social media I have, but, you just see all the cultural practices that people are doing. And, so just stay involved that way. don't be afraid to ask questions. That's what we're here for. And just, I can't stress of just being active. Even if it's just doing some problems, making up some scenarios of, hey, I got this size of land and I got this fertilizer analysis. How much will it take? Practice those calibrations. You'd be surprised just how many people, have a hard time with calibrations and stuff like that. It's just, it all goes back to the mentality of, either use it or lose it, and so during these times, you might not be able to find a job or whatever, just still be active and think, have a turf mindset.
Yeah, that's a good word there. Chris May, what do you got?
I think my opinion on the whole thing's been, pretty relaxing to this point. So I think my advice to anybody is use this to your advantage. Take a break right now. Get mentally healthy, get physically healthy. If you need to get a surgery done, go get your surgery done. We don't get many chances like this in our industry. And I just really think people need to take advantage of it just for their own mental health. Because when we do go back, it is going to be crazy. And it's going to happen very fast, and it could happen tomorrow. We don't know. So I think just my biggest thing is just take advantage of it. I got guys playing golf 4 days a week right now in my crew. I'm fishing 3 days a week, so we're using this to, kind of recenter ourselves and get back to being normal humans and working normal hours. So, but besides that, I think that right now for other sports turf managers, with young guys on your crew, I think it's a good time to train people on equipment, do things like that. I don't ever really get involved in a whole lot of training during seasons because it's not the time to burn grass if you do it. So, right now, like I said, no one's here, so screw up spraying, it's okay. But, we're doing that with a couple young guys and getting people on equipment they hadn't been on before. But, my other piece of advice to the younger guys is just stick with it. We're all going through it. And that's been one of the hardest messages to relay to my guys is it's like this everywhere. We can't run off and find another job right now. No one's hiring, so, and I get it, when people missing out on overtime and other stuff like that, some people might have to go get a part-time job, if they can find one at a Costco or wherever. But my advice is just use this time to your advantage, continue your networking, like Jason said, on social media, doing stuff like that. And just know that we're all in this together. And if your boss isn't letting you do something you'd like to try, ask. That's the biggest thing. Just ask questions right now. That's everybody always says there's no such thing as a stupid question. Well, there is a stupid time to ask a question. Right now is the best time ever to ask questions for you young guys. So ask away. But that's really my advice, and we'll get through it. Hey, end of the day, sports are going to happen eventually, and they got to have somewhere to play them. So we do matter.
Absolutely. What would your advice be, Thomas?
Yeah, with so many of our student workers here being turf students and non-turf students, and a lot of them, they want to be working here. We had two of them that were going to do an official internship with us this summer. It's just been patience. You guys will get back when you get back. The university took care of them. So at the beginning of the pandemic, they took the hours that they had worked in a 2-week snapshot period and repeated that every pay period to the end of April. So they got paid, the whole through the month of April for hours that they had worked at the beginning of the pandemic, just repeated those hours. So for us, it's just patience. You guys will be back when we can have you back, and, it's coming. The professors here have been accommodating to them, they've canceled the summer internship credit for them so they don't have to pay a tuition credit fee and everything. So it'll be back, and it'll be a great opportunity for them once this is over.
Yeah, very good. Chris Webb?
So I think for a lot of those young guys, and especially the recent graduates that are, they're trying to look for a job, everybody's in a hiring freeze. Nobody's hiring right now. I graduated during the recession, and everywhere I tried to get a job, I met roadblocks. And I think my advice when looking back on that is don't wait for an opportunity to come to you. Cast a wide net. Take advantage of whatever opportunity you can get. I had to take a job in the turf industry, but outside of sports turf management. And when I look back on it, I think a lot of the successes I have here at CNU, I pull from that experience I got when I had to leave the sports turf world for a little bit. But I gained a lot of business and turf knowledge that I've been able to apply here. And I think now it's a big time to reach out to other sports turf managers and see what they're going through. That, we're all a network. We're all happy to talk to each other. That, I think I get more phone calls now from people that I haven't talked to in years, but it's just wanting to know what are we doing? What do things look like here? What are our plans? What are my thoughts? That I think networking and communicating with each other and finding new people to network with, I think it's bigger now more than it ever has been in the past.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can't emphasize the points you guys made enough to stay connected, whether it's through social media or networking, patience, take a step of faith, like Chris said, ask to do some new things. Those are all tremendous pieces of advice. I know we're running a little tight on time, so I'm not sure if we want to open it up for any more questions. Kim or Kristen, thoughts there? Well, I think we'll, since the time limit's an hour here, we got a few minutes to spare, we'll just go ahead and wrap it up. I'd like to say a huge thank you to our panelists, to Jason, Chris, Thomas, and Chris. We appreciate you guys' time and your inputs. We'd like to thank the technology committee members who have assembled these town halls each week. We'd like to thank President Jimmy Simpson and the board, as well as Kristen Althouse and Kim Heck from STMA headquarters. We look forward to next week's virtual town hall, which will be moderated by the great Jeff Salmon on Tuesday, May 26th at 3 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time, to interact with panelists from football and soccer. From that side of the industry, we'll have Dan Shemesh from the New York Red Bulls, Nick Feedwa from the Jacksonville Jaguars, and Sun Roslin from North Area Athletic Complex in Golden, Colorado. So for further details on this and future town halls, stay in tune with the STMA website, with the @Field Experts tag on social media, and be sure to check your email. Thanks for participating. You guys stay safe and have a great day.